Yeah, hi folks, this is Mike Stinnett again. Thanks for watching the video. This video is about Ben Courson and John Courson, Applegate Christian Fellowship being exposed. So I'm going to tell you about all the crooked land issues they did in building of Applegate Christian Fellowship. I've already told you, or you've already read, and I've commented on the stuff with Ben Courson, how he got in trouble and is being investigated. And now we know there's a woman has filed a criminal complaint about sexual assault. We don't know where that's going to go. I've told you about the cover-up of Ben Courson, John Courson, Applegate with Kelly Rasmus and the youth pastor, the elder. And I don't know what happened there, but it's something horrible. And so this particular video is about a scandal before those two scandals. And this was when he was building the church and creating the Applegate Christian Fellowship as we know today. So anyway, John Courson got there, and they were in bus barns, and they were in parks, and they were in buildings by the land they bought, and then later on they bought this land. Well, the land is shaped like a bathtub with a creek running through it. So there's limitations on how they can build. Everybody gets that in 5 seconds. You drive on 238, you drive down into the church. There's a mountainside, and then there's 238, and in between there's a creek. So the land they built, so they built the building. So to build the building, they had to move it up 8, 10, 12 feet higher to get it out of the waters, and that was fine. That's what the county said. That's what the church agreed to. So they moved a massive amount of dirt and they got it up, no problem. And then all of a sudden, when they weren't done even troweling off the foundation of the building, nice big building, that he's building the 5,000 person amphitheater that he never could have, that was illegal. He just used the dirt that was left over. They just swirled it around and built the amphitheater and kicked it in with their heel. Well, both of them open up, and that's a big hit, and people start showing up. So you have to create the coffee shops, and you have to have more parking, and he had to start building a whole bunch of crooked stuff that he couldn't have. Well, we had a flood in 97. So for roughly maybe, I don't know, 12, 14 years or so, they were going along, and nobody knew that it was crooked except the county and the church. Well, we had that flood in 97. Big flood all over the place, and it ruined the stuff down there in the creek bed of Applegate like it did a whole bunch of other places, and the neighbors started asking questions. How could you build there? Well, it turns out that he couldn't. So here comes the neighbors group, and here comes the media, and here comes the con and the scam and the lie and the corruption and the extortion by Applegate, led by John Courson and Todd Metter. Remember, Todd Metter is John Courson's father-in-law who started the church with him. And then when John Courson's first wife died, he married Todd Metter's daughter, Tammy Courson, and so became his father-in-law. Well, he was the architect of all the crooked stuff on the property, along with John Courson. And then a few years into the 90s, after they had got the bulk of the stuff before the flood built, Todd Metter moves into the county and becomes the head building inspector. So now he's going to be able to oversee, because remember, they knew it was crooked. Everybody else didn't know it was crooked. Everything's up and running. I didn't know. I started going there on and off, but it was up and running. But they knew, so they got to go and get these positions of power so they can hold on to their stuff in case there is somebody who asks questions. Well, the flood happens, and they think it's like a divine appointment. So remember, the amphitheater is destroyed, the bridges are destroyed, the coffee shops are destroyed. Everything was destroyed down there except the building, because the building was moved up out of the water like you're supposed to. So again, the questions start. So not only, so they build the amphitheater again without asking and no permits. They build the coffee shops again. Remember, the coffee shops, the toilet and the sink, they run out on the water side into the creek, and on the parking lot side, they run into a catch bend, because there's no toilet, there's no sewer for any kind of toilet or sink, because they're down the water table. The sewer system is up there in the volleyball court because of the 10 feet higher, because they have a bathroom for the building, but you can't be in the water table, so they just run it out into the creek or into some sort of container. Pretty sickening. The cement bridge was illegal. The 3-acre parking lot was illegal. The bus barn, the commentary house, the kids' classroom they built later on, the children's amphitheater, all this was illegal. The county was just crooked helping them to build all this stuff. So the neighbors keep pushing and keep pushing. I'm summing up the story a little bit, but yeah, I think you get the gist. So in the middle of this, John Courson gets a promotion down to Southern Cal. Chuck Smith brings him down there and then in the middle of the investigation. So he's down there, and this is when I finally got the ideas, and I left, and I'd been standing out there in front of my church, confronting him on all this stuff, the teaching, all the crooked land issues, all the bribery, all the elders, deacons, a part of the corruption, so on. So when I get down there to Southern Cal, because remember that from Southern Oregon to Southern California is a big distance. There's no Southern California media that was reporting it. There's no Calvary Chapels asking any questions. There was nobody down there telling anybody. John Courson just shows up. He'd already been a guest speaker before. Now he's on staff. He told us he was leaving to take over, so now he's down there. Well, I get there a year later. I stand out there in front of 20,000 people, coming and going, holding the sign, the poster board signs, the black lettering on it, saying John Courson's a liar, John Courson's a fraud, John Courson's an imposter. I had the newspaper articles in my hand. And so they tried to call the police. They tried to beat you up. They tried to threaten you out there. But John Courson only made it a couple months. He was too much of a coward. He was an appetite-driven pig up at Applegate, and he was getting exposed down there in Costa Mesa. Because somebody was walking in the door. Remember, John Courson didn't take over when he got down there. He had to stand at the door and be a pastor and greet people in the morning because Chuck Smith's on the stage. So undoubtedly somebody walked up and asked him some questions, and he hated that. He never took questions at Applegate. He's never done an interview ever for anything ever. And now he's being confronted. So after just a couple months, he ran away because he's a pathetic coward and couldn't stand the questions. He was exposed and he didn't like it. So he left. Well, I didn't believe him at first. So I just stayed there for a couple more months. And then finally I went on my way. So over the years, that's what I'm saying. I've been trying to expose him on this land corruption issues and the bribery, the extortion, the threats they did up in Southern Oregon. And of course, later on, Ben Courson, he just takes everything he can get from his crooked father and crooked grandfather. You go from one scandal, the land issues and the corruption, to the cover-up of the youth pastor and the child abuse, maybe, we don't know. And then Ben Courson's scandal. So these are scandal-plagued people. So then as we've seen over the last couple days and weeks, there's been media reports of these people. Well, on the Phoenix Preacher, for example, he's been reporting some of the stuff and repeating some of the stuff. Well, I tried to email him about a week ago, and I was trying to tell him some of this stuff, and he starts arguing with me. And he knows all this stuff about Ben Courson and John Courson and Applegate, but he doesn't want to tell anybody. He knows why John Courson left. He says it has nothing to do with the land issues, but he has some sort of secret that him and only a few others know. This is the Phoenix Preacher, Michael Newman. He's been covering the story. He just did an article a couple days ago. And he says that he knows why he left, and he's been carrying this secret around for 17 years because John Courson left there in 2004. It's 21. So that's 17 years. He's been carrying some secret that he knows about why John Courson left. The email is that I know and few others know why he really left. I don't know what I'm talking about. He emails me about the land issues and says that was well documented. No. It was never documented in Southern California anyway ever. He never mentioned it. Again, there was about 8 articles in 8 years in Southern Oregon. It was watered down. Stuff was left out. It was counter-accused of the neighbors saying something. The neighbors did all that hard work to expose them. You can't even figure out what they did. Everything's up and running, and then they had to remove some stuff because they had to shut the story down because if they didn't do anything, they're going to get caught. So anyway, over the years going by, I've been telling people, but so here he comes, and we're having this email exchange just last week, and he's the one reporting on these people. Yet he's carrying some secret around for 17 years about some horrible secret. Can you imagine that? He's carrying some secret around for who knows how many years about John Courson. And I asked him, what is it? He said, so if it's so horrible, then what is he doing? He doesn't want to tell you the land issues. See, most of the times when you recover a scandal about somebody, the new one, you tell them about the old ones. Isn't that how it works? When they have new scandals, you tell them about the old ones. But he wants to cover it up like all the rest of these people. He wants to make up stories, but he doesn't want to tell you what they've already done. I'm reminding people about what they've already done. He knows all about the land issues, but he doesn't want to tell you. Where was it reported? Ask him. He emailed me this stuff. So I'm going to give you my email at the end of this video, and you can email me and I'll give you the links. I'll give you the emails that I'll forward you the emails, and you can ask him. This guy can't be trusted more than anybody else can. What is he doing? He doesn't want to tell you about all the crooked land issues. He has some 17-year secret about why John Courson really left, but he doesn't want to tell you. So again, these are the kinds of people I'm talking about that I've ran into over the years. When you try to give people information about Calvary Chapel and Applegate, they're people like him. Every time there's noise around Applegate or Calvary Chapel, here comes people like him to kind of clean up the noise and try to do something around the noise that's being made, so they can gather information and then they can go back to Calvary Chapel, Applegate, and tell them stuff. You don't know who to trust. That's why you guys got to figure it out yourself. I figured it out, and I'm trying to give you information. If you want the articles about the Applegate Christian Fellowship, you're going to have to call. You're going to have to contact the Medford Mail Tribune, because they're not online anymore. There's some, but you have to contact the Medford Mail Tribune and have them send them to you. Michael Newman knows all this at the Phoenix Preacher, and I don't know what the guy is doing. He was yelling at me and some angry thing in his emails about me. And so what I'm trying to share with you today is just a few more of these things in this video. Anyway, my email is mstinnett194@gmail.com. That's MSTINNETTE 194@gmail.com, all lowercase. Thanks again.